Imagine Russia in the early 1900s, a sprawling empire ruled by Tsar Nicholas II, where the majority of the population lived in dire poverty. The streets of Petrograd were filled with the cries of hungry workers, while soldiers, exhausted by a seemingly endless war, muttered in discontent. Beneath the surface, a storm was brewing, one that would topple centuries of autocratic rule and change the course of world history. Welcome to the Russian Revolution, where a nation at the brink of collapse spiraled into chaos, giving birth to a new world order. The Russia of Tsar Nicholas II was a land of stark contrasts. The ruling class lived in lavish palaces, enjoying a life of privilege, while peasants and factory workers struggled to survive. Amid this growing inequality, the country was thrust into World War I, only to find itself disastrously unprepared. Soldiers at the front were starving, lacking basic supplies, and morale was plummeting fast. Back home, life was no better. In Petrograd, the capital, bread was scarce, and strikes erupted across factories. The streets were a powder keg, waiting for a spark to ignite. The winter of 1917 was bitter in more ways than one. On February 23rd, a strike broke out at a factory in Petrograd, sparked by outrage over food shortages. Within days, the protests spread like wildfire, swelling in numbers as workers, soldiers, and women joined the cause. The Russian people, once loyal to the Tsar, were now demanding an end to his reign. Amid the chaos, Tsar Nicholas II, isolated and oblivious, clung to his throne. But it was too late. On March 2, 1917, he was forced to abdicate, ending more than 300 years of Romanov rule. The provisional government stepped in, but it was only a temporary bandage on the open wound of revolution. As the provisional government struggled to maintain control, a new force emerged from the shadows: the Bolsheviks, led by Vladimir Lenin. Returning from exile, Lenin's message was simple but powerful: peace, land, and bread. He promised to end Russia's involvement in World War I, redistribute land to the peasants, and give power to the Soviet. Lenin's rhetoric resonated deeply with the war-weary and hungry population. The Bolsheviks gained momentum, and soon they were preparing to make their move. It was a cold, dark night in October 1917. The air in Petrograd was tense with anticipation. Lenin and his followers had planned their moment. Armed Bolshevik forces stormed the Winter Palace, where the provisional government was meeting. By dawn, the government had fallen, and the Bolsheviks were in control. The revolution had succeeded, but Russia's struggles were far from over. The Bolsheviks' victory was met with fierce resistance. A bloody civil war broke out between the Red Army, loyal to the Bolsheviks, and the White Army, a loose coalition of anti-Bolshevik forces. The Civil War ravaged the country, claiming millions of lives, but in the end, the Red Army triumphed. In 1922, the Soviet Union was officially born, a socialist state that would redefine global politics for decades to come. Lenin's dream had become a reality, but at an enormous cost. The Russian Revolution sent shockwaves across the world. It inspired socialist movements from Europe to Asia, terrified capitalist nations, and ignited fears of a worldwide communist revolution. It also reshaped Russia itself, setting the stage for leaders like Joseph Stalin, who would turn the Soviet Union into a global superpower. Though not without its own dark and brutal legacy, the Russian Revolution was not just a national upheaval. It was a seismic shift that changed the world. It was a time of chaos, hope, and devastation. As the dust settled, a new world emerged, one where the struggle for power, equality, and ideology would define much of the 20th century. And that's the story of the Russian Revolution, a turning point in history that continues to echo in our modern world.